Steve Harris from White Maiden and British Lion. You're listening to Andrew McCaskill from Scars and Guitars.
Welcome to another voyage aboard Good Ship, Scars and Guitars. I've got to do something different, guys. Fellas out there, you blokes that have been listening to me for a long time, you know I like to mix it up from time to time. And how was that one? Did that hit the mark, or am I well wide of where I need to be? Either way, you know what we're here to do. It's another conversation with a luminary, a legend from the world of hard rock, heavy metal, and beyond. Subversive rock music. That's just what I call it all these days. And on that point, Andi Deris from Helloween. I do talk about subversive rock music with him. What a wonderful fella as well. I'm going to say from the outset that all of the blokes that I've interviewed from the band Helloween have just been superb. They are one of my favourite bands, and they're one of my favourites because of the opportunities to have discussions with the guys, from Kai to Sasha, Danny. Everybody has just been fantastic. I've got a conversation with Michael, the guitarist Michael. I won't even try to pronounce his surname because I'll butcher it. But, I'll give it a go. Michael Wykath, I think it is. I've got to chat with him tomorrow night. But, right now it's all about Andi Deris, or Andi Deris, either way. Throughout this conversation, the opportunity to chat with Andi is due to Giants and Monsters, the new album from Helloween. We dive into that, as well as career, conflict, interband dynamics, legacy. Do we talk about label pressures? Not really. We don't actually go there. It's definitely a discussion, this one. Again, you out there that have been listening to me for a long time will know these are not interviews on Scars and Guitars. They are conversations, they are discussions, and whatever comes up, comes up. But yeah, there are a few key topics that I just mentioned there that we talk about, in particular the legacy side of it and the dark ride and what happened in the year 2000 there with some of the ex-members. All right, here he is, Andi Deris from Helloween. Hey, mate, how you going?
My apologies. I talked too long in the previous interview.
No, that's no problem at all. I was just saying to John, you've been sought after, so I don't blame them at all for wanting to have a bit longer with you, mate.
No, it was my mistake. I couldn't stop talking. But if you don't mind, actually, we have lots more time for you. So my next interview would be in 1500, so in 40 minutes. So. Oh,
okay, sweet. All right. Well,
all yours.
Thank you, mate. Yeah. Well, I've spoken to a lot of your bandmates, but it's always special when a member of Helloween is available for a conversation. I've got to say, it's you probably hear this. Well, you probably hear this stuff all of the time, but I'm in my late 40s, and I recall when metal wasn't very popular. And which means that I remember when Helloween you were at the top of your game, effectively, as one of the most prominent bands still flying the band for heavy metal through the late 1990s. The Dark Ride I thought was a great album. I know it's not people's favourites, but it's one of mine. It's one of the albums that I got into, and realistically too, I'm just sharing this with you. The Napster era I thought was very positive for you guys because it got a lot of your music out there to a lot of kids who wouldn't have heard it otherwise.
Yes, absolutely. You love-hate for Napster. As you mentioned, for like bands as us being around, it did a lot of good things because people were looking at the histories of bands, suddenly popped up, like the name Helloween popped up, so they were able to do it. Yeah, for us, it definitely did something good. I'm not sure if it's good for the new bands, because there are so many bands, a vast number of new bands. How would you ever pop up? Because if nobody's talking about you, nobody would listen to you because there's too many to listen to. So as I said, it's a love-hate thing for me, Napster, Spotify.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. I postulate they're two different things, though. The Spotify thing, I'm not willing to make a judgment on it publicly, even though I sort of have in past podcast interviews and stuff. But
well, you're running into problems.
Well, it's just it's exactly what you said with Spotify. It's like how can you define it as a net positive or a net negative when just about everything ever recorded and released ever is available on it, but at the same time, literally everything's available on there. So how do you pick what's good and what's bad? Like there's zero gatekeeping going on. So all of the big bands now are still the big bands from the 80s, like you guys and Iron Maiden. And for an old fan like me, there's nothing wrong with that. But I do wonder, with kids, my daughter's age, 12 years of age, is rock music going to become a legacy artifact? Is metal going to become a legacy, like proper metal like you guys? I'm not talking about metalcore and all that shit.
Yeah, but from metalcore might come something more in our direction. Again, back. I'm just happy to have people who play guitars, who form bands. Like, this is the important thing. And I definitely see it around here in Spain and in Germany. Well, like, I'd say a decade where nothing was going on. No guitar sport, nobody interested in learning an instrument, no school bands. That's how we all started out. I'm playing the band, was cool. And it is still cool, but they cannot, because there's like, I know one guy is a great drummer here. For 5 years now, he is looking for bandmates. He's a drummer, he needs a bass player, he needs a guitarist. And in his school, nobody is to be found. Now, back in the days, in my school days, I was in a school with 1,200 pupils. And believe me, I mean, if you were looking for a guitarist, there were 5 or 6 good enough to be in the selection. So that's why we started having a school band. But nowadays, if in your school there's nobody to be found, the effort is getting high then. How do you get a guitar player? How do you get a bass player? It's nearly impossible. But as I said, meanwhile, I see there's guitars being sold again. People are more interested in playing a guitar or learning an instrument. So I have hopes there.
Yeah, I'm with you, but I would add that it seems to be coming from different parts of the world. So it might still be popular in Germany. It ain't here in Australia, I can tell you that. But I see that there's a lot of bands coming out of South America and parts of Southeast Asia, like Indonesia as well. So it's just changing where it's coming from. But it's just whether or not those bands, like the South American bands, seem to cross over into the Western mindset fairly easily, but the Southeast Asian bands don't, I've noticed. And I thought 5 years ago I would have banked that there would have been a massive band coming out of Indonesia or Philippines, but there hasn't been. But they're there. They just don't seem to catch on for some reason. So Voice of Bass Prot might be one example that I could give the listeners if I can, the Indonesian band. But they haven't. They're good. They're a great band. They just haven't caught people's attention yet. So anyway, there's got to be something in that. But
give it some time.
Yeah,
give it some time. You know. Yeah. But then again, as I always say, look, I'm here in this so-called business for 40 years, and it comes and goes in waves. Countries are going up concerning metal, others going down, and now those who were down 20 years ago are up again. And, it's like a constant wave thing going on. And metal never disappeared, never. It just got more popular here, less popular there, and back and forth again. So it's very interesting to see. So I wouldn't worry. And what I learned, every new generation is not want to copy what the last generation did.
Yeah.
So now we have a generation of more or less E-pop and computer-based music. And I think the next generation will say, well, I don't like computer-based music. I want to do some real music again. I swear to God, this will happen.
I think you're right. And I hope it plays out that way, because we're certainly going through the other side of it at the moment. Yeah, there was a point I was going to make as well. Sorry, it's flown away. It'll probably come back at an inappropriate time later on when we're talking about something completely different. But
as always.
Let's have a chat about Giants and Monsters, because that is the catalyst for our introduction. So the question I want to lead with an album, we've talked a lot about this now. You're an established band. You've got a huge fan base. Consider from a heavy metal fan perspective, you are one of the biggest bands in the genre by a long shot. So, is a new album important? How valuable? How much value do you put in a new album as a band?
same as always. And for me, it's as important as always. Look, you just mentioned it. Now you got Spotify and all these portals that we love, hate. What didn't change for us, because being old rabbits, the generations are still there. My age generation, your age generation, we are most of the times album listeners, album lovers. So for us, nothing has changed really. We are just glad to have tons and tons of new fans, new people in discovering our music. But overall, I would say it's still 70% of us, album lovers, who really want to close their eyes and say, okay, I want to take now 40 or 50 minutes and go through this album, maybe light a cigar or light a cigarette or have a good coffee or a whiskey or a good wine next to you and just enjoy and relax. And hopefully you like the album you're listening to. That's still what I am, who I am. And I wouldn't change it because I love it. I need that sometimes. I really need to completely disconnect and just, as I said, lean back, close my eyes, listening to a new album. Hopefully I'll enjoy it and it made my day. So the majority of our people, they haven't changed. So yes, it's as important as always. Sure, it does reflect in the record sales, but still metal, mainly old school metal, like you just mentioned, Maiden, ourselves, Sabbath is gone, unfortunately now, but Priest is still around, Scorpions, Slayers, and you name them. And these generations want to have their habits fulfilled. We grew up with buying an album, enjoying an album, maybe even meet up together and listening to a new album. It's an enjoyable socializing thing to do. And if you're used to that, you don't want to get rid of it. So I'm pretty sure that's why these old school metal bands still sell a decent amount of records, vinyl or CDs. And yes, it's always good to have a few million streams on Spotify, but this is something I don't consider that important for us, for the old farts.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, you must sell more physical copy than just about anybody on. It's Rising Phoenix these days, isn't it? It's not Nuclear Blast anymore, is it? So, yeah, I mean, yeah, you'd be right up there. But what about? And I've spoken to Michael only recently. It was probably more than a couple of months ago, but either way. But he gave me an answer to. What's that? Sorry,
Michael Kiske or Michael Wyckoff?
Oh, Michael Kiske, I should say. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, my bad. Yeah, there's two Michaels. Yeah. So how do you guys sort out who sings what? Like, because you got three lead vocalists these days.
Yeah, we just didn't. This time we just decided to spare a lot of discussion time. Like last time for the Helloween album, it'd be sitting down for hours and days, actually, going through the lyric sheets. Who sings what? And this time we just told the producer team, you know what? Just let us sing the whole album. So Michael and I sang both the whole albums, every song, and this nerve-wracking work to find out who sings what best. You just don't discuss, you listen to it. Because we recorded everything, and then you just decide, I like Andy better here, I like Michael better there. This could be Kai here. So Kai was a different story. Whenever we decided that this should be or could be sung by Kai, he had to fly into my studio here in Tenerife on the Canary Islands and record whatever he had to sing. That was a fun thing to do. Honestly, Michael Kiske and I would just like heading down to the beach, and at the end of the day, we went up and listened to the results of the production team. I think that it was much, much more enjoyable than sitting there discussing the shit out of yourself instead of recording, So I think this time it was maybe a bit more vocal work. Sure, you had to record everything as best as you can. But then again, after that, you were finished. No discussions. You got it, everything. And the plus point is now what we realized, we could easily edit some different versions because everything is there. So there could be, on the album, it could be Andy, Michael, Michael, Andy, but you could have bonus tracks, Michael only. or Andy only, stuff like that. And that's worth it. I think that's great. B-sides, then the people can complain, I don't like Andy that much, I like Michael, blah blah blah, or vice versa. So this is something that's I think it's value, which you automatically have if you, for once in your lifetime, are not sitting on your lazy ass, but go in there and sing. You know?
Yeah. Hey, you're living on the Canary Islands. You're there, and I can see the Buddhist imagery there behind you as well. I had a very long chat with Michael about all things. Can I call it ethereal? It's not humanitarian because that's taken on a decidedly leftist and therefore authoritarian bent these days. But he had a very open mind to things that a lot of people don't, and I'm just making an assessment that you're probably on the same page as Michael.
Yeah, pretty much. We talk about everything. He's got his opinion sometimes. I got mine opinion. And the good thing is with Michael, even if we are completely on the same page, he understands why I'm not, and I understand why he's not on my page completely. But I have to say, it's always a 50-50 thing. Because, yes, I completely understand where he comes from. And maybe I'm ready to be on his side completely, but this takes time for me as well. I have to consider, I have to learn, I have to see that for myself. Or vice versa. Michael sometimes says, yeah, here and there you've been right, my man. So never say never. But that's the nice thing about discourse. I mean, you just talk about shit. You don't give yourself the finger simply because you or I are having a different opinion or point of view on a certain subject, because I'm quite aware that I'm not the owner of the truth. And everybody who says he is, I'll take my distance. I go like, okay, this is somebody I don't want to be involved with, because that's ideology. And ideology cost us millions and hundreds of millions of death through the last centuries. Yeah. We could start with the church and we end up with politics or politicians. Ideology is always a death sentence. So whenever I see somebody who thinks he's got the truth, I think, okay, psycho or sociopath, stay away, you know.
No doubt. Yeah, no doubt. Yeah. So you're a septet, is that right? Am I saying that? 7 of you these days, so septet, I think it is. So you've been in the band. You're the longest tenured vocalist by a long shot at this point. Okay, we've talked about Maiden, Nico's just stepped out of Maiden, so I'm not saying that they're on the decline, but you know what I'm saying. There's some legacy issues that are happening there. Certainly with Judas Priest, that is happening. You're pretty much the biggest band around that's still intact these days. And I think I mentioned to Kyle when I caught up with him that it felt like a renewal for you guys with the Helloween album. So on that note, does this feel like a bit of a sophomore, given it's a first time that all 70 of you have been together for a follow-up album?
If it feels like what?
A renewal. Does it feel like a renewal for you? Like, yeah.
Yes and no again. We still call them the new old guys. So if we talk about fresh wind, again, that's the fresh old wind, which we are very happy to have. So it works much smoother now because you can satisfy automatically all the generations of Helloween fans. So meanwhile, we're running into 3 generations. There's the first generation, which is probably the biggest part. That's the Walls of Jericho, Keeper of the Seven Keys fans. And to completely satisfy these guys, you definitely need Michael Kiske. And Kai is definitely the great bonus to it. But I think the voice is the most important thing, that the people are listening to Michael again, which they are used since their youth, since their childhood even. So this is something the new singer could never beat. So that's quite clear. You know, I'm
30 years in, or whatever it is.
no, that's the way it is. So I have nothing to complain about it, and nothing, not to even talk about it. It's the way we all feel. When I listen to my old heroes, yes, I know Paul Di'Anno is not as good as a Bruce Dickinson, but nevertheless, these are the albums I more or less grew up with metal. So I always love these two albums with Paul Di'Anno. Certainly, I do. Still, I would say I love lots of songs with Bruce Dickinson. But when Paul was not in the band anymore, as a fan back in the days, I left Maiden, so to say, just to rediscover them later on. But first, I was pissed. So, maybe that's the right description. But yeah, very important that we got the boys back in the band, definitely, because now we got every right to connect with the history without being called copycats or whatever. How can you with a new singer, blah, blah, blah. So this is off the table, and now we are allowed to kind of produce best of both worlds. And everybody's exactly expecting that. So what I want to say, I'm allowed now to play or to write a Giants on the Run, or to the same time a ballad like Into the Sun, or maybe a poppy thing like A Little Is a Little Too Much, and perform it with Michael together, and the worlds don't collide, but they interconnect. And this is something I really enjoy. So all ego shit besides, that's exactly what a band should do.
But you're the only ones that have been able to manage it. You do realise that no other band that I can certainly recall that's in the limelight, that has a significant following and a fan base, has been able to do what you guys have managed to pull off with the renewal and the new old members that you talk about. Have you ever thought to reflect on that?
Well, just give you an example of where my idea was born to have this Pumpkins United thing. Was actually when Van Halen tried to reunite with Diamond Dave and Sammy Hagar. For me, it was a dream come true, being an old Van Halen fan. And I was like completely hooked and totally destroyed when I learned that the first show already went to hell in Las Vegas and they kicked their asses on stage. For me, the world was like blowing apart. And I just thought, okay, could we do that, but stick together? But seeing that show in Las Vegas with Van Halen, we told everybody, yes, we want to do that Pumpkins United tour. And we swear we're going to stick together until the end of the tour, even if we would hate ourselves, and try not to kick our asses on stage, which fortunately never happened. So, but maybe that was a good warning sign with what happened with Van Halen, that you should actually try to keep your ego shit in the stable, hold your horse, and don't boil over just because you think you have to now because you got it in the wrong. Yeah, in Germany you would say you got it in the wrong tube.
Oh,
so
yeah,
you get the point. Yeah, but it did not take any effort, because Michael Kiske was super cool, and he gave me the security that we could get along super nicely. If that's who he is, which I like, the first 2 or 3 hours we talked together, and the impression that I had back in the days, I thought, okay, if this impression is who he really is, I will probably love that guy. And time just went on, and I realized, okay, I miss him actually as a person, as a discussion partner and everything. So after the tour, I was like in that hole. There was no Michael around me to discuss the shit out of every subject that we had. And this is something you learn to treasure. And yeah, I don't know how, but this could have been a friend for life, which was actually living more or less in the same world than I did, but I never had a chance to really get to know him. Now I did, so I'm super happy. That's good friendship, and better late than never, I say. I'm super happy with him. I think he's happy with me. And yeah, unfortunately, we are not gay. That would have been the next step.
Why unfortunately?
I'm saying that would be the perfect relationship, you know.
Oh yeah. It's all good. Yeah.
But honestly, I'm just disgusted by just thinking about it. So sexually, this is not gonna happen.
Cool. Well, look, something else. Like, you've been in the band 31 years. I think I'm right in saying, is it 31 or 32 years? Either way, it's
31, 25, 1994. I joined. Yeah.
Yeah, 31. Yeah. Well, I can't believe that much time's gone by. But anyway, so looking back over that period of time, obviously there would have been tension and conflict, because that's just the nature of being in a band. Okay, but did you ever feel like walking away at any point?
In Helloween?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe during the 2000s when we recorded the Dark Ride album, there were lots of tensions in the band, which is actually, it was not the fault of the band. It was definitely intrigue, shit, and misinformation from the management side, which kind of ripped us apart, because it took quite 9 months to find out what really happened. To cut a long story short, we had to get rid of Roland Grappo and Uli Kusch, because Roland was definitely one of those guys who stole from the band, and it was a pretty big sum, actually. He built his studio and everything on the back of the band without us knowing. So that was super sad, because I considered him nearly a friend, actually. Yeah, we were all devastated, but Waiki told us. Waiki said, look, I mean, can you live with somebody who betrayed you, or can't you? And I personally said, in a relationship, maybe I would give it a second chance. But in a band, when it comes to financial betrayal, I could never trust him again. And that's why we had to get rid of him. That was my darkest hour in the band. And probably everybody's in the band. So Marcus and Waiki will tell you the same. It was very sad to find out what actually happened, and nearly made the band break up, because not telling the truth until it's been on the table, the proofs and everything. And I was like, wow, how could you? You'd rather see the band split up. But yeah, that was the darkest hour.
Darkest hour, that's what I was going to say. That's it. So that's ironic, is it? The Dark Ride. Isn't it ironic how music, sometimes art reflects life?
It is. And we were quite aware not to make any Dark Ride anymore. At least don't title it Dark Ride.
Would you say that's the band's most maligned album?
The Dark Ride?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a very controversial album, definitely. It polarized lots and lots of people. The good side is it took a year longer to finally go gold than others, but there was a learning process, probably, that lots of new fans came in and said, well, we love that album. And yeah, it actually did something good for us. It prepared us to swim free in a bit more left and right directions. So you suddenly were not killed just by going with like new metal stuff or grungy verses or whatever. Back in the days, I remember the metal world was very conservative. And I said, look, I mean, it must be possible to combine new metal or grunge with speed metal and classic speed metal. It's still classic speed metal, but you have like different arrangements in the middle parts or something like that, or even one song which is a new metal or grunge song, like If I Could Fly. It should be allowed as long as it's a good song. It's a good song. And if the majority of the album is still Helloween, then you should be allowed to do that, because we're going back to the Keeper albums. They exactly did that back in the days. Nobody gave them shit for that. They combined different genres. There was like glam rock, hair rock, in combination with melodic speed metal. There's everything to be found on these albums, and that's why this versatility was even rewarded. And then you see yourself in the year of 2000, and you were not allowed to do that anymore. Strange times, actually. So for me, it was always clear, I'm a rockhead, I'm a metalhead. But as I always say, I'm not only a metalhead, I'm a rockhead. And if my rock is becoming metal, so be it. I love metal. But if this metal sounds not as good as the rock version, I would rather present the rock version. And yeah, if the song is self-explanatory, like on the new album, for example, you got like Giants on the Run, or you got like Majestic. These are self-explanatory songs. Certainly they are speed metal. Why not? It sounds best. But if the best arrangement would sound in a rock dress, I'd rather leave it in a rock dress and don't metalize it. Yeah. Because there's enough metal on the album. Why should I push forth everything? Keep it a bit wide open. You know, we are metalheads, and I think every metalhead in heart is also a rockhead. So what is a ballad? Most of the people like to have a good ballad from time to time, but a ballad is a rock song. It's a rock ballad. I think the metal ballad, this is something that's a stamp you put on because it's a band who usually plays metal, so it's a metal ballad. But the same ballad could have been played by another band, and it would be a rock ballad. So sometimes it goes too far, you know what I mean? This stamping and everything has to be in this or that or whatever box. And I say, hey, just enjoy. It's rock, it's handmade, it's metal, it's cool. Just enjoy it. And don't break out in wars about boxes. This is not speed metal. This is not blah, blah, blah. Bullshit. Enjoy it. Do you like the song? Can you headbang? Period. Go for it. You know?
Yeah,
that's how I.
Yeah, it's a reflection from someone with the wisdom of a life lived. As a musician, that's my take on it. And just to reiterate a very good point that you make there, which is that, and because I write these books as well, I write a lot, and I've really formed a view through my writing. And it's not. This might sound like an oversimplification, but I think perhaps you'll agree with me on this. Whether it's death metal, black metal, power metal, speed metal, or whatever, it's just subversive rock music. Do you get what I'm saying? Yeah.
Absolutely. It's just arranged to a certain way.
Yeah.
And yes, you may prefer this or that sound of a guitar or the style of playing drums in combination. Okay, that makes it music which you put in that certain box. But you really want to tell me you don't like the music of another box which is so close to it, simply because you need to be fan of that box, and secretly you listen to other boxes as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it would be stupid to actually split the metal world into 1,000 fragments. At the end of the day, it's metal. If you love metal, I'm quite sure there will be tons and tons of bands out there who have at least a few songs on their albums which you appreciate as well. And in every right and respect, these bands should be allowed to be as successful as the rest of the market as well. But as we all know, sometimes it's a trend, and the trend is telling which bands are up.
Yeah.
And much better bands are down because they are not in the trend. So this is something from the it's the YouTube generation or TikTok generation bullshit, and we don't need that in the metal world, in my humble opinion. So,
yeah, and just to underline your point again, which you've made really well, the exact same instruments that are on stage when Marduk performed the most satanic material in their catalogue, you could repurpose those same instruments and play with the Rolling Stones painted black. There's that's the point, and that's what I mean about it. But people are so obsessed with looking like idiots and stuff. It's ridiculous.
Well, everybody should actually enjoy what he likes to enjoy, period.
Yeah.
The only problem I would have is if you like to brand things, don't do that, because how many of my favorite bands were suddenly back in the days having a disco song on the album, like Turbo Lover from Judas Priest, or I Was Made for Loving You from Kiss. But if you don't like it, just don't listen to that song. But that doesn't mean that band has different things to offer, which you definitely will enjoy. For me, I have to say there were quite a lot of bands which I only got to know because of a stupid hit single that I, for whatever reason, liked. Other people didn't because it was not true metal, but still it was a band who was playing metal. So, for example, how many people went into rock because of I Was Made for Loving You, or into metal because of Turbo Lover? Was it a disadvantage for us metal fans? No, because the shows got bigger, the shows got greater, and the success just kept on the bands. This kept them driving to drive them to do even more better metal albums. They did not come up with a disco album. Judas Priest, after Turbo Lover, did not do a disco album. But they were bigger than ever, had a much bigger fan base. So we could enjoy much bigger shows. And I have to credit Judas Priest, because back in the days, the prices for the concerts did not really go up.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, in the metal world, success does not actually mean that we're Taylor Swift or Madonna and go like after a successful album and sell the tickets for 3 or 4 times more. In the metal world, it's still, I consider it to be a more or less fair trade. Even when you go up into Champions League, in comparison, you don't rise the ticket prices like, for example, Madonna or something like that. So it's the metal world which should be happy to be in an even bigger concert and a bigger show of their band, but that's only me. To the same time, I enjoy seeing one of those big bands in a club.
Well, that's
just
awesome.
For the sometimes like Metallica did, and they said, "Yeah, fuck off it, sick of the arenas. We're playing secretly in a club show tonight." I mean, this is how great is that? That's something to enjoy as well.
Yeah, you're not wrong, and that's the environment people like me, definitely me, prefers to watch a band, because the stadium shows are just awful these days, and
stadium shows is it's very tricky. Lots of people say, "Hey, we've seen you like 10 or 15 years ago, and this was like a 3,000 concert hall. It was much more intimate, and I could see the guys and blah blah blah." I can understand it, but then again, I don't know. What shall we do? We had now, for example, in Germany, we have a few shows where we have booked a second night in the same concert hall, simply because the first one was already sold out. We're talking about arena stadiums. So what shall we do now? Rather play 2 nights in an arena, or possibly 20 shows in smaller concert halls, which would extend our world tour into probably 3.5 years.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And this is not doable.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I'm back and forth here. Solution, there's none, I know. But I just want you to understand that bands are doing 1 or 1.5 years of world tour, playing in the biggest concert halls in the world sometimes. And if you would like to see these bands in 2,000 or 3,000 big clubs or smaller concert halls, this band would be traveling the world forever.
Yeah.
It just doesn't work.
I know. I have thought of a way around it, but it's unpalatable, which is that you charge 10 times as much for a ticket as what you're prepared to for the stadium shows or what have you, because there would be, for a band like Hell, you're actually, here's a thought. I know we've got to wrap up on the set because you've got another interview soon, but you are one of the few metal bands that could probably do a Vegas residency and pull it off.
Yeah, I don't know.
But that could happen because then you could play a theater for 3 months.
Okay, get your point. Yeah, okay. That I could imagine. Yeah, that I could imagine. Because financially, the management would say, yeah, okay, that's worth it if you like to do that. I could see that, yes. But nevertheless, in the real world, where you don't have these big contracts, like in Vegas, for example, that's the way you have to do it. Otherwise, you probably cannot survive unless you double, triple the tickets. And this is something that you don't want to do.
I know.
At least not in the metal world. I mean, still, we are one of the last bastions where you could say, okay, we don't want to rip off our fans like so many others do. On the other hand, to be fair, I don't know. I even don't know if we would double or triple the ticket prices. Probably nobody would show up anyway. You know what I'm talking about?
I think they would with you guys. That was my point earlier. I think you're right at the precipice of where Motley Crue are doing it, for God's sakes, and they're garbage. You guys you're actually a proper band, and you could do it because fans are invested. Do you see my point?
Yeah, okay, I see your point, but still, I don't want to do that.
No, of course, no. We're just talking. By the way, I'm not suggesting you do it. I'm just saying that,
I could not look into the mirror. You know, we are quite aware where we come from. We started as I said with like school bands. You started out in front of 15 people. Sometimes there were 30 people, and there was 12 people.
Yeah.
That's how you started out, and this is always in the back of my mind. We played hard and worked hard, and it was fun to do so. And now when you have like 15,000 people in the concert hall, you definitely think back. Okay, back in the days, I remember 30 people. And after the show, it was snowing outside. You're sweating. After the show, you were soaked wet. Still, you had to carry the cabinets and the amplifiers back to the little van you had out there, if it's snowing or not, if you're sweating or not. Man, these days were hard. You know, but it grew. More and more people showing up, more and more people showing up. So we'd be rewarded more and more and more and more. So I'm happy just to have, instead of 30 people, I'm having 4,000 or even 15,000, or on in a festival, even more people who just come for us. Why would I raise the ticket prices, knowing where I come from? Unless I have a good argument. I have prices skyrocketing because the people who rent the concert hall are going apeshit and want to have the double rent. Shit like that could also happen.
That is happening, though. Yeah, no, you're not wrong. Yeah.
So that's the point why ticket prices could rise. But the bands themselves, they're in constant struggle and fight with their managements not to do so, you know. Unless proven by the management, we have to, because this has gotten more expensive. They want to have more money. Those assholes want to have now withholding tax even more than last times, blah, blah, blah. You get my point. At the end of the day, you're forced to rise tickets. And I say, yes, okay, I understand, but please stay in the fucking ballpark.
Yeah.
It should not be
honorable. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, just quickly, just one more question before I let you go, if that's okay. I'm a writer, so I always ask this question of you blokes that have been there and done that and have got a well-earned reputation. When is your biography coming out, or are you planning one?
Well, in the moment, I don't plan one, even though there are a few guys who would like to start something like that. But I always say, look, I mean, we're still around for another 10, if God will, 15 years until we drop dead on stage. So give it some time. Let some more history flow down the river, and then we can talk about it maybe in a few years. But in the moment, I wouldn't feel like having to tell the whole story, so to say. There's a big piece still missing.
Yeah. Okay. That's a good answer. Yeah. Well, I'd love to read your story from Pink Cream 69 up to now. It'd be a good story, mate. It'd be well worth it.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. Well, I hope to see you down here sometime soon, mate. It's been a fantastic discussion. I really appreciate you giving me your time, and God bless and good luck with everything.
Thank you very much. And again, my apologies for the delay.
All good, mate. No worries. Hopefully we catch up again.
We do, definitely. So stay tuned. Thank you very much. Have a good life, and I see you, I hope, down under then.
Andi Deris, ladies and gentlemen. What a great bloke. Wow. I was just saying to John, my good mate John Howarth, who sets all of these things up for me, I was just saying to him that if I could do for a living, if I could just continue to interview blokes like Andy and Steve Harris and Adrian Smith and Michael Kiske, all these guys that have been doing it for decades, they are the best conversations. I think you'll agree. Those of you who are invested in the show, a lot of people tune in because of the Cradle of Filth inquiries and interrogations that I get up to, but a lot of people tune in for other reasons too. And if I do have a thread through everything, it's that I think this show is all about giving established musicians a platform to talk about whatever the fuck they want. Simple. But there is an art to it. And I hope I do a good enough job at that to be convincing through my sincerity and authenticity with it. Because I do believe that's what I am. There's no just me doing this. There's no big machine or what have you. It's just down to my curiosity and my love of getting to the bottom of whatever it is that we want to talk about, but always having something to talk about, not just aimlessly meandering through bullshit. Always staying on topic, whatever that topic might be. There you go. All right. That's enough from me. My name's Andrew Mackay Smith. I am the host of Scars and Guitars. Until the next one, it's a goodbye for now.